Hey, how we're doing? It is our live show today. It is, well, I think we're a minute or two late today. We've had a pretty busy day as it has been this whole month. We're actually up over what we were in December right now. So I don't know if eBay's pushing it, but I'm seeing commercials freaking everywhere. We saw some online. We saw some on here. I turned on the radio, which I almost never. I usually have XM on, my XM satellite. And the first two channels had an eBay commercial on. So I don't know, maybe they're spending a lot of money on it. So, you know, she found something today. We'll show you in just a few minutes here. She kind of surprised me because I walked by. I didn't pay much attention to it.
You don't expect much from me, I guess.
No, it's not in your area, I guess.
I know.
You'll see why in a minute here. We'll show it when we get a few more people on here. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on. We'll talk about the postal change. Let me just say that the postal change that's supposed to happen on June 23rd was originally supposed to happen, I think, January 27th when the initial changes started to roll out with the post office. And if you look at the actual changes, I mean, I know they've had the dimensional weights before for some zones, but most people haven't had to mess with it just because of where it goes and what's going. Most people I know haven't even touched dimensional unless they're doing another site or something because, I use FedEx. We have an airborne account and a UPS account as well, too. So, with all that, I've done dimensional for quite some time, and if you do big bulk shipments and stuff in the past, we've messed with it. So for the most people, it's going to be something different. It's over I think it's 1 cubic foot. If it's over that, it goes to the size of the box. So whichever's higher, whichever costs you more money on that, it's no big deal. We charge for shipping for everything. So as long as the weights are correct and the dimension of the box is correct and you're charging, you have nothing to worry about. We've charged for shipping for 7 years. Maybe I think we've always charged for shipping if I'm not mistaken. It's just been so long to think back for 20 years ago. I know a lot of people don't, depending on what you sell. I completely understand. When we did clothing and stuff, most of the clothing had to just be thrown in there. We had to throw in the postage. So these days I don't do any freebies on postage. Maybe I'll, if somebody's buying a bunch of items, and they'll say, hey, would you cover postage? Yeah, I don't care about that. It just depends on what the purchase is and all that kind of stuff. But, if somebody's buying a $200 item or a $500 item, they're still charging, I'm still charging them for postage. And with collectibles, people don't complain because collectibles have always paid for shipping. I mean, going back to when I was ordering comic books from Mile High Comics back in, say, maybe 79, 80-ish or somewhere in that range, collecting Batman, the early Batman comics. And I ordered a lot from Mile High. Even as a kid, I knew postage was extra on everything, and it's always been that way. And you've ordered stuff, and it's always postage is extra. So, that's just the way we do it with what we sell. I don't sell any huge packages unless they're going off to Amazon, and then it's through Amazon, and I punch in the same box size, which we use the same box for everything. So, Home Depot, or I'll buy them from a box manufacturer, which again, I'm still going to have somebody here. It's just working some things out. Next week, I'm going to have 2 guests on the show. We are going to be talking to 2 separate people. I am trying to work out something with Dom and Chris. In fact, we're supposed to talk tomorrow, so you will see both of them on. I might do like a double feature one day and have them on, maybe Chris 1 hour, and then we'll take a 20-minute break and then maybe talk to Dom still in the evening too. So anyway, just FYI what's going on. And I think, yeah, they're both in here actually. There's the Dom's there, Primetime Treasure Hunter. If you don't know who Dom is, check his channel out. And then we've got Thrift Shop Hustler as well. That's Chris. Check his channel out. He's Evilos as well too. Chris has been around a long time. Dom's been around for about as long as me, I think, somewhere in that range. I think we both started just about a year or so ago. So started on YouTube, I should say. Dom's a pretty bright guy there. He's pretty cool guy, as is Chris. I follow both of them on Instagram too, if just FYI. Chris does a lot with the Cancer Society. And Dom actually has a PhD. He's a really good guy. I've been talking to those guys a lot lately, so just FYI. We've got Pat here. If you haven't checked out Pat, thank you, Pat, so kindly.
Thanks.
She's actually drinking one right here,
Yes.
if you can't see it in there.
I love my peach cokes.
In fact, I had to buy her some this morning, or yesterday, I think we bought some. But thank you, Pat. Check out Pat as well, too. Pat's a real good guy. He goes on with Scott, Bearded Picker, if you don't know them, with Wade and Shane and the whole group over there. You've got Steve. So, again, I do converse and talk with other people, as pretty much everybody knows. I've seen many of you folks on other channels as well, too. So, anyway, just FYI. Hey, Aaron, how are you doing? Let's go up and see what we got going on here. The feed bounces all over the place, so whichever one of us is brave enough to move it, we'll probably do it. And it's been like this since we've been on. In fact, we're already way down. Oh.
Yeah.
I think they were chatting before the show. Yeah, usually I get a chance to check on chat before the show, but today it's been so busy. I just ate at like 6:25. I think I was just finishing cooking and pulling food onto a bowl for me, which is usually, I've done an hour ago. It's been just a real busy week, man. I can't express that enough.
Probably go down just a
Long
little bit.
weekend. What? Oh, is this Memorial Day weekend?
Yes.
Is it? I hadn't a clue. I knew it was coming up. I heard somebody else talking about it the other day at a pick. We went to an estate sale, and there were people talking. I didn't know it was this weekend here. We may go and do a father-son thing this weekend. My son's doing pretty good. So I don't know. There's a huge event going on. I don't really need to pick, but, we hang out. I like looking at stuff. I may not buy a lot, but maybe we'll shoot some vid if it's right and stuff. It's a public facility, so, they can't say much. There's no signs that say don't photograph.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
He's got that ROTC thing, too.
Oh, I don't think it's this weekend.
I forgot when it was.
That's Monday through Wednesday, I think
Yeah.
he said. Maybe. I know he has to pick up his uniform for it. Carl, welcome, Carl. Let's see here. I'm not going to read through your private conversation there. Let's pop on down here. Where are we? I'm trying to find the little feed button.
Right there.
Yeah,
It's dark gray over black, so.
Yeah, I think we'll have to change that. Evening, everybody else. Just FYI. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. Let's see here. It's probably easier to look at on the other side.
Gonna do a switcheroo.
Yeah, hang on just a second. Let's pop over this way. Yeah,
Oh,
it's brighter now. We can read the feed. It might actually be caught up. Just a second here. Again, post office. We'll talk about the postal as well, because I had some people saying, what about returns and things like that? Let's see here. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of notes. I don't even know where to begin on stuff here. We'll just go through some of the messages and stuff here. Yeah, I don't think Chris is in Burbank. Oh, he is in Burbank. Oh, okay. And there's Dom. Hey, Dom, how are you doing? David, how are you doing?
Concierge service.
Big brother, my sales are skyrocketing. Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, I don't know how many people have the same standpoint as us, but I don't know what's going on. It's like somebody turned on a button. Usually we slow down a little bit, but I mean, we are literally over our busiest month last year, which was December, right now, this month. And it's not even done, so, and it's across the board. It's just not, one specific category. I mean, geez, I couldn't tell you. We've sent all kinds of, I sold auto parts all morning today. Stuff that's been on. I sold all those oil filters and stuff that's been up for a while too, so.
Right here, Duncan.
I lost concierge service. What a shame. eBay service is as it used to be, total crap and hard to get a hold of. Yeah, I had somebody tell me they waited like 15 minutes the other day for standard call, and then I had somebody else tell me they were on for 40 minutes. I mean, I can't compare, because when I call, it's what I usually have it on hold for like a minute.
Yeah.
It rolls on into from the auto feed thing, and
You're so lucky.
we got the service with our Anchor store. Again, for those who don't know, if you get an Anchor store, you get the better support. So anyway. We got like 70 people in, so let's why don't you pull that up here? Let me move that so you don't spill it. This is something big. I'll let her show it here. This is something that I was kind of surprised she pulled out.
This was in the back of a closet.
Hang on just a second. Oh yeah, you can see it.
Yeah.
Now this thing was, I mean, dirty as can be. I had to wipe it. In fact, I'm still not done.
Here, you want to open it?
Yeah, let me open it this way so you can see this. She found this, and I probably could have walked right by it. It was in a closet. Now, normally, what I expect to find, if you don't know Dobbs, Well, do I got the right side? Well, if you don't know Dobbs, this is Fifth Avenue. This is 1940s or 50s. This is the real deal. Dobbs made bowler hats, and I figured that's what this was. We would have probably kept it if it was. I've got a couple bowlers. We've got full Clockwork Orange outfits that the four of us actually wear, the family-wise. It's the droogs. We do the droogs. I may wear it for Halloween this live show. She pulled this out, and you know, I've never seen one with the actual tissue paper still on it. So I was like, kind of surprised.
But the tissue paper is really cool because
let me pull this out.
Here, you want me to hold that?
Why don't you put it over there very carefully? And we're gonna just very carefully, because I don't want to ruin this.
I thought that was neat. It looks like a little paper hat.
It's a paper hat to protect the actual hat. I've never had one with everything in it in the box. I've had them with the box and part of the cardboard many times. Usually I pass these up, but she got this. How much did you pay for it?
$3.
$3, and I'm not lying here. I thought, well, it can't be worth that much. It's not a bowler, because that's what always goes. But pull it out. I'll let you show it.
Okay. Ooh, I get the honors.
Yeah. And I say it's something that she wouldn't mess with because it's a man's hat, and she would be picking up the ladies' fancy hat. So, this is a fedora. I mean, this is a real deal.
You want to show the inside of that?
It's never been worn. This is
Nice.
NOS. Let me switch so I can make sure you guys can see this. Yeah. I don't mess with much clothing, and had she not pulled it out, we wouldn't have walked away with any clothing. But I looked this up, in without all the inserts, without the tissue paper and all. $200 easy. This is like a $300 hat. I was really surprised because the last bowler we had, same kind of box, same everything, same era, we got like $100 for. This is 3 times that. It's mint. I mean, mint, mint, mint. There's not a spot or a sweat mark of any kind on the brim.
Sweat mark.
Well, that's what you expect. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we've ever had one that didn't have a sweat mark on it.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It needs a little cleaning. For those in my Patreon group, I'm going to repair this box. Oops, because it's split. It's got some damage. So you're going to see a repair job next week's video. I'm going to show you touch-ups, and we're going to clean this hat and get some of this stuff off. It's obviously new. I wish you could have seen when she showed it to me what her hands looked like, because they were like black. We had to go and ask for moist, whatever you want to call them.
Moist towelette.
Toilet, yeah. It was kind of weird because this thing was black, the box. So I guess they didn't even look inside or want to touch their own box. But, I mean, this thing's awesome. I wished it fit me because I would have probably kept it.
It reminds me of Don Draper from Mad Men.
Yeah, but this is probably pre-Mad Men. This is...
maybe Roger Sterling from Mad Men.
Something like that. We won't put it... I'll put it back together when we're off.
Okay.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, we're putting that up for $300. I'm going to clean it. I'll do a video for you, or for the Patreons. We'll fix up the box. I'll show you touch-ups and cleaning, something like that. Again, this thing's NOS. As NOS as I've seen for a hat. I was literally shocked that
my clothes were filthy.
Yeah, you were pretty...
it was nasty.
Yeah, one rule of thumb when you're outsourcing, bring an extra shirt with you.
Yes.
And
a moist towelette.
Yeah, bring something. And usually I think about that, but we haven't in the last couple times because I haven't hit a real dirty, dingy one lately. You could have just left it down there. Yeah. And so, we had nothing else with us. So, she was literally dirty. We almost went and bought a shirt, but we went to 2 more stops, dirty as can be. Didn't care. We were sweaty, too, because there was no air on in the place. It was just a typical house. Ohio, it was, 75 or 80 yesterday, something like that.
We will trade for cool Weebles.
Yeah, $300 worth of Weebles.
Yeah, I like the Tarzan Weebles.
I think you got one of them.
No, I don't.
You got the little hut.
Oh yeah, the hut.
Marky's probably going to do a couple videos for us here on tree tots and Weebles and things like that, because there are some rarities. There are some things that she's pulled out here and there. Boxed ones always do the best, of course, but we don't buy clothing, but a hat's a different story. I will buy.
Yeah, I like hats.
Yeah, hats are cool.
They didn't have any. Well, a lot of the ladies' hats were already grabbed that were in the front. This was way in the back, and it was filthy as. Bleh.
A lot of people, I noticed, we weren't the first in the line. We were probably like 40, going into this place. So, and we arrived, an hour and...
Yeah, I wasn't expecting much.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting much because we were there an hour and like 10 minutes before it opened, and there were already, 30 plus people in front of us. And somebody told me someone was there like 4 hours before that they told them. So I wouldn't wait 5 hours ahead of time. There was people around here at some of them that will wait overnight. There was a husband and wife team that would switch off. So in the morning, one would come up and take the spot, the husband or whoever sat the night out there and stuff, to be first in line at some of these sales. I know that sounds crazy, but I've seen some of the stuff these people walked out of there with, so... The estate sales are the bomb. Live auctions are really good.
Some of the
let's hit some questions in just a second. Let me hop over the other way because I think they're easier to read.
Right here. You got that one, right? Duncan's?
I got Duncan. Let me see if I can.
Carl.
Seabrand. He's probably about the same. I mean, we're gonna have to keep going in for tests on my son Carl. It's the rhythm. I mean, he's got an extra beat. It's almost 80% of the time. It's actually more a little bit than it was the time before.
He gets wore out easily, so we got to watch that because he's almost collapsed at school.
Yeah, I had to pick him up a couple times.
Yeah.
This is his last ROTC or any of that kind of stuff, so he's not going to be doing anything else anymore. He's done with school as of yesterday, so he's done with any of the sports right now, and we're just going to play it safe. They're talking about zapping part of his heart while he's awake, and actually killing part of a muscle section of the inside of the heart. They go in through the leg. It's a long process. I'd rather not get into it, but it's what we're not looking forward to, and hopefully it doesn't go that route. But there's complications and stuff that could happen and stuff. If it doesn't go away after a certain point, he for his well-being and for the length of his life, he would have to have it done, mostly because it's overworking the heart, and it's fine when you're young at some extent, but once he's getting older, it's not something you want to see happen. So they would rather fix it when he's younger.
Exactly.
We're not looking forward to it.
Well, they said the sound. I mean, the how he was describing it, he said was the worst part because he said the surgery itself.
Yeah, it doesn't sound very, very pleasant when they're telling it, because you've got to go to an electrophysiologist for this procedure, and there was like 101 of them in the entire country. It's not just an electrophysiologist. You have to go to a pediatric electrophysiologist, and there's only 101 of those in the whole country. And his electrophysiologist is from the University of Michigan. Yep. There's only 2 in our general area, and the closest one's like 2 hours away. So that's where we go for if we got to go to a visit or something. He's only in town like one sporadic day for like 4 hours, and if he's booked, you got to go there. So
he knows his stuff, though. He's a fantastic
doctor. I was quite impressed with everybody at the heart center and all, which you don't expect to go for a child and then have this kind of stuff. So we're just taking it as it goes. Yep. There's nothing, we're not going to worry right now because there's really nothing we can do, and he's not, nothing's detrimental, to that extent. But
he just can't have too much caffeine.
Yeah, he's got to limit certain things to eat. He's got a diet and all that kind of stuff too. But
cut out the red meat.
Yeah, well, that's hard to do for some.
It is.
Live on a dime. How are you doing? Let's see here, Kathy. How are you doing? Yeah, with the shipping. I know there are people that have been dealing with Dimensional for a long time.
Small.
Yeah, it's. I like small stuff. You know how much everything. The hat's going to be one of the biggest things we'll ship out in a decent while. I'll have to.
Oh, we could sell this as a hat.
Yeah, I would want to. I'm going to keep that. I bet you that'll add to the value, believe it or not. I've never seen one of those in a box like that. But ship-wise, it's something that's been around, but now it's going to be everybody. And there's a lot of people who just wouldn't have ever used it, even if they've shipped a lot of items. If you're shipping 500-600 items a week like us or something, you're gonna ship dimensional items quite often. So as long as it's calculated shipping for us, we've got the correct weight. I got a ruler pretty much all over the place. So yardsticks, I've got 3 or 4 of those. I've got tape measures. I throw it up on a scale, everything,
You had to create that crate. Remember when we saw Dr. Pepper?
We've made our own boxes and created stuff. We know, and I have a list on what's the best, shipping method for everything. eBay actually the divisible number that you used for the shipping that way is actually lower now, which means it's actually cheaper for you to ship dimensional weight through eBay than it is through UPS, just FYI. And then I heard some other folks talking about, well, I do Etsy or whatever, and, the shipping's, flat. Etsy's going to have to change for big items because Etsy's not going to front the bill on all of those items shipping with, dimensional weights, which could be higher than, the actual ship weight used to be. I wouldn't do it. I don't see Etsy going to do it, Just again, with the updates on the shipping, they planned on doing it in January, like the 27th, 29th or something. This June 23rd date is a postponement from the original enacting of the new prices and stuff. This last update with the prices for the UPS, or not the UPS, the United States Postal Service is one of the highest rate increases they've done that I can find anywhere. And I've seen many articles, so, everywhere I can see, this is probably the biggest change that the post office has done with dimensional, because now they're encompassing a huge section, and it's not just over a huge amount of weight, anything over 1 cubic foot. In the past, it didn't used to be that way. For those who've been on for a while, like Chris or Dom or somebody, back in the day, remember we used to be charged like $10 extra for bigger size boxes? Yeah. I can't remember. She had to help me carry some in years ago, and there were these big boxes, and we ended up didn't know it. They charged us a $10 oversized fee, which all that's long since gone. Yeah. It's all just dimensional. So, pay attention, put the information in. As long as you're doing it that way, you're safe. I know for a lot of people, they've been, using, adding in free shipping to clothing or whatever they're doing. It's not going to affect most people who sell clothing. It's going to affect people selling maybe an electronic, a VCR or something. Because now the box is possibly, with all the cushioning material, going to be more. For those who do picture frames and stuff, I got a video. It's been shot for a while, but I'm going to put it up. It would directly show you how to cut down your shipping material and your size for any glass frame. I've been shipping glass frames the way I'm going to show you in this video for a long time. I've never had a pane of glass broken in all of these years, and it's very thin, and it's none of this extra boxing. It's just a little extra work to ship a good size frame. The last one we had, I think we had 260. We sold it for 260, the frame. So I spent 20 minutes boxing the piece up. It was well worth it for $260. We had like $5 into this thing. So the point of it is, I'll show you how to make small packages for very fragile items. Because I've been doing that for years. Because again, we do dimensional shipping for some areas because we ship all over the place. So.
Yeah. Okay, you got Kathy and.
Yeah, I got that one. Well, thank you, Molly.
Oh, thanks, Molly. And then go down just a smidgen.
Hang on, if the feed's going to work.
So far, so good.
Big brother here. Don't be afraid to ship large things. Yeah, I would. It's not going to change anything we do. I wouldn't ship it before. I'm not going to ship it now. I'm not going to ship anything differently. We do big items. If they're big, I do local pickups. We've sold all kinds of stuff, local pickups. It's a hit or miss sometimes with whether they're going to show up on time. I've had some that, I had to reschedule twice after I already got to the meeting spot, which was very annoying. That stuff happens. I mean, I can't say it enough. It does happen. Chris, let's see. Chris the Goose. Dimensional will be more expensive compared to weight. Yes. The example that I show you is from eBay. And basically a pillow could cost you more than, a pair of shoes. Even though the pillow might weigh half of what the shoes weigh, the pillow could actually cost you 2 or 3 times what it would cost you to mail those pair of shoes.
Just get that vacuum thing that sucks all the air out.
There you go, vacuum for the pillows for those who ship it. And I know you can do that with stuffed animals because I've seen somebody do it. It might be cheaper to buy vacuum bags now that I think about that. Because that's about the biggest thing. I've got some dolls that we've had to ship, which obviously you can't do that with. But
just break them up.
Break them up.
It's awful.
For like dolls and stuff like I sell a lot of the Play Pal dolls. If you know what that is, it's about a 3-foot tall doll, and I've got one that we just got up here right now. Some of those can sell for like $300-400. So I mess with the big dolls. You're cutting a box. I cut and make my boxes to the size of the doll. There's only a 1/2 inch all around the doll, so the box is only as tall, an inch taller than the doll itself, basically. You clear the feet by a 1/2 inch, and you cushion the feet, and you cushion the face and the head, and you insulate the sides so it can't collapse, and boom. So it takes 10 minutes to pack a $250 doll. But again, I bet you I can get that cheaper than most people again because I ship cheap. Not just for that, but for ease of helping the postal people here. My post office, or our post office, isn't that good. The postmaster is gone and all this other stuff. But our postal lady is like the nicest one
she's so
I have
awesome,
ever
yeah.
had to deal with in my life. I had a real good postmaster once before when we lived in Mississippi, but the lady here is just awesome. There's been a couple times we've gotten late with my son and stuff. She just came back around and picked up the boxes, and she gave
was
me
very
time.
nice.
I always, I've walked him out to her car. She's got to walk across the street and stuff. So, when I've got a lot, or I'll send a kid out, or, one of the employees or something to take the stuff out for her, just because she's really nice. And I always feel bad if I got to complain about stuff at the post office just because, she has to deal with them and all. But she's really awesome. She's probably the best, my, favorite male person, I guess you could say. This Christmas, postal worker. This Christmas we'll give her a dinner or something probably.
Or a dog. No.
Or a dog. No,
Can't have my
no.
dog.
I've always paid dimensional weight for party mail going to zones. Yeah, there are zones that do the weight. That is true. But for most people aren't going to do those weights. This is now everybody in every zone and everything that you're doing. So, yeah, there is dimensional weights. As I was just saying, we've done dimensional weights for years. Amazon, you can do them on. There's all kinds of places you can have dimensional weights. So, for the majority of people I've talked to, they have not dealt with this at all. So, 90% of those out here and 90% of the people who've watched the video have said pretty much the same thing. They haven't a clue on dimensional weights. Again, most people don't mess with that stuff, or they're not shipping to specific zones. I'm not sure if that's the specific zones. I had them written down here somewhere, but I know there was 3 zones I know for sure that had a dimensional up to a certain point. The cutoff is different, and they actually lowered the divisible, which is new even for zones 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's actually been lowered, which means it's actually cheaper for you, which puts them cheaper than UPS is dimensional weight. So just FYI. And as well as that part of the update, every single price across the board, has went up, since the January initial increase on this. Everything else is fully fledged, supposed to be June 23rd. So again, all the prices are different. You need to be very leery on it. You need to lower your box sizes. Again, this is probably a big chunk. And again, there's probably the majority of people I've talked to, and I've literally talked to hundreds of people about this. I got maybe 60 or so emails just overnight from when the video goes up. People I've talked to regularly and things like that. So I know the majority of people just haven't a clue on dimensional anyway.
You got this one?
Yeah, and Kathy, exactly. Kathy's even saying that too. The multiplier is different as well. It's lower cost from what I see. The higher the number, the actual, I think the higher the cost is what we figured out. Yes, Kathy from Brisbane. How are you doing, Kathy? I think you heard the call out on the Patreon video. Tomorrow there'll be a real good one up tomorrow. If you didn't see the post, tomorrow for those in Patreon, there is a video going up to show you probably the biggest collectibles dealer on Amazon. I want to show you what the monster guys look like. This guy dwarfs anything that I do, and I mean dwarfs. He must be making a fortune on eBay, or not on eBay, on Amazon selling this stuff, because man, this guy is the bomb. Maybe he's the old paper the paper collector guy that used to be on eBay. I'm not sure, but this guy's he dwarfs my listings. And you guys know we've got like close to 60,000 listings. This guy just dwarfs me. Like I'm a little peon compared to what he's got up on Amazon in the same categories as me.
I was laughing because of Duncan saying he's ordering a squirrel burger.
Yeah, they're pretty smart. You'd be surprised how smart those guys are.
I've eaten squirrel before. I'm from Mississippi.
Yeah, I've had it once or twice.
My uncles went squirrel hunting.
I just don't like the little buck shots in it. Reborn creation. How hard is it to do YouTube, and is it important to do videos? Well, YouTube is all video, so that's what you got with YouTube. So, I mean, unless you're just going to follow people on YouTube. There's Scott right there. Hey, how you doing, Scott? There he is. Scott's on. Scott done. We got Chris as well too. Yeah, check out the Bearded Picker. He's on the road right now. I think I saw him up there with. He bought a Pyrex from Taco Stacks for his wife, which I thought was kind of neat. I'm sure he gave you a special rate on that, Scott. I think $1 is a little too cheap. That's one of my prices. Is peach Coke available in CA? No
In
idea.
California? I don't
No
know.
idea. No idea. We were surprised to find it here. We don't usually mess around with the store in that aisle, and it was just something we found by accident.
Oh, I found it.
Food and drink, I'm in the wrong house. Let's see here. Oh, that just disappeared on us.
Yeah.
Hang on. Our feed just went
Okay.
haywire. That's right there. I think, yeah.
Um,
I just
yep,
got top
right
rated
there.
thanks to all your advice starting in January, so I'm stoked. Well,
That's
very
good,
good, Kathy.
yeah.
Yes, very good. Hype just talking about dimensional because a lot of people don't know dimensional. Again, we've used it. I'm sure Scott's used dimensional more than he would like to say.
You don't have to go through extra dimensions to shoot
Yeah,
them.
like in Family Guy. My wife and I are trying to get a retirement business going to resell. Is YouTube videos? We do YouTube videos not to sell our items, but to help other people do it. So if you're just trying to start a business to resell, you have no need to mess with, YouTube, unless you're going to post a video and then have a link to a listing so you can actually show a video of your item on eBay. I mean, that's the only other reason that I would do it. Our dogs must be down here.
Yeah, Henry was
I
right
say
there.
it's like I got allergies already. Let's see here. So just again, if you're reselling, YouTube's not anything you need to have for reselling, in my opinion. Yeah, hit the like button if you had. I know I'm terrible on that. I'm always bad to call out that kind of stuff. Let's see here. Driving home from work and listening to you guys. Just be safe on the road. Hey Wade, how are you doing, Wade? I saw your geez, I can't think of the guy's name. The Asian antiquities collector guy on there, Wade. That was kind of interesting. If you've seen a lot of stuff too, Wade, the telling a Chinese child from a Japanese child, and again, I'm not trying to make this sound any way, shape, or form other than just distinguishing facts, because that was up in your video. You'll get to tell the difference, because in Victorian trade cards, you can always tell because there's even shapes wise, they have different art styles on that, that's something that you learn after doing what we've done. Don, if you just have 2 hours sleep, you'll get the extra time you need.
Yeah.
No, things should be much better. I mean, both my kids are at school, and we don't have much going on. I got a lot of help coming in. It'll be daytime help, so I'll have longer hours for them, and I can be done in the evenings from now on. So.
And this weekend you have to build an outside
this
patio.
weekend we ordered some nautical canvas from off of eBay. I found a killer deal on eBay, honestly. I think we got like 20 yards of it.
Yep.
I'm building we're sinking in some 4x4s, and I'm building like a permanent gazebo out there, and then we're canvassing our deck on the back. So it's a second story deck, and it walks down to like a cement they're like stone blocks and stuff,
Yeah.
patio and stuff. Anyway, long story short, that's the weekend. It's not something complicated. I'll have it done in probably 4 or 5 hours with the kids and stuff here. So that'll be 4. I'll maybe even pay one of the employees to come on over and help
The
too.
squirrels
So.
can hang out there.
Yeah, they probably will.
Get out of the sun.
But it'll be nice because we've got a window upstairs, and the window has sun that just beams in the summertime. It's like the hottest part in the house, and you don't want to cook sometimes, so this will knock all that down. I wanted to do it weeks ago, but it's been raining so often. I don't want to sink a post in mud, Just, it just isn't. You got to let the ground dry up a little bit anyway. So.
Go down a little bit, I think.
Yeah, there's. Hang on just a second. What's that? By the way, I have been to Oswego. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, once or twice. Yeah, Scott's telling you what to do right there. Postage is expensive. Yeah, everybody just start your normal day job there. Yeah, I don't worry about postage again because I don't pay it. We charge for every single thing we ship these days. Everything, every single thing. Let's see here. Let me shop down. We got a full house today. Let's see here. Thrifts
nice.
A lot.
Best
month since
That's
August.
good.
We are having this month will probably surpass my entire best month for last year, which again was December. This month is a madhouse, and normally I'd love it, but we've had some stuff going on with my son and stuff that I had to deal with, so it hasn't been pleasant for time wise, but for the money, Because I've been up. I was talking to Dom and Chris late last night. We were texting back and forth. I think it was after midnight. I think Chris, wasn't it, and Dom. So I mean, and I was up today at like 5 something. So and I didn't even go to bed last night. We watched Archer at till I think 2 in the morning, and then I was up like 3.5 hours later. Now I don't usually do that late. Usually but everything was running late, and anyway, it was just one of those days last night. So anyway. Let's see here. Creative Business 339. It's been a while. Hello. How are you doing?
Hello.
Thanks for the compliment, I'm sure.
Yeah. I gotta get all gussied up.
Dom's interviewing Chris at 9. Well, that's right when we get done. I will see if I can't pop on. We did have something to do, but we can push that back just a little bit because I wouldn't want to miss that on you guys. Yeah, if you didn't know, they had a major issue here, and I actually talked to Dom last night on the phone about that while we were trying to figure out what we could do for him. But there was, I think half the country had issues from what I saw with live feeds, and I don't watch a lot, but I was here, and I wanted to be on and hear what was going on and everything. So anyway, they couldn't get it on, and I've been to those spots, so I think all of us have probably had one of those live shows where something didn't go as planned, or it didn't work out how it should, or sound wasn't on, or there's always something. Even if you've done this 100 times, something always seems to happen. So anyway, it's just one of those things. I will stick it around for that one probably. So do we have to go and revise every listing to make sure we are charging enough? Oregon Coast, as long as your listings are already set up, I put the correct weight for everything when we get it. Before it's listed, I've got a scale that sits next to a laptop or something before we list it. In fact, there's 2 or 3 of them sitting right here. If there's 2 or 3 people listing, everybody has a scale. As long as they're listing heavy stuffs or something like that. I
usually list like postcards.
She does smaller stuff, yeah. She's listed like 360 cards in the last 2 days, so... that's what I said. We've been cramming it. This is the time of year when, not only is it a good sourcing time of year, you've got to get your stuff up. I try to have everything, or as much as I can get up by the, maybe the 3rd or 4th week into 3rd quarter, because that's really where we start to pick up, because a lot of the vintage stuff we sell, I've got crafters buying. And, for me, I've learned, and we get calls and stuff. There's people that have our phone number. I still go through eBay. I don't put them up, and we don't do individual sales anymore. Once we get our own site fully fledged, we'll sell them through there, and I won't have to mess with, eBay as much. But it'll tell me, hey, I need so much of this. I need so much of that. And then I've talked about this before. We've got people who source for us. And they don't just source for us. They source for many people. But we get certain items, and they get certain items. And Duncan knows what I'm talking about here. He's from Australia, too. I only know him from on here, so it's not like, we've got some cohort thing going on here. But
they do. They cohort.
There's a whole business.
All the time.
Well, you know it, Ed. When I worked at Cracker Barrel, they had a huge warehouse of just vintage soda signs and stuff. There's businesses that source for companies, and we've got hookups with some of these type of material. So you've got to know something to get into some of this, to do it to the extent we are, because we've got hundreds of thousands of paper items. Would that not be an honest appraisal?
A weird thing. We've got friends who collect this and collect that, just weird off the wall things. Brandy in Alabama, she likes cast iron stuff. Guess what she found at a yard sale? And it was old. This was an old something she found that was cast iron.
I don't know.
A cast iron toilet seat.
Oh my God! Yeah, I guess you could see that in an old outhouse or something. I've never seen one.
She was all happy that she found a cast iron toilet seat.
I bet you that's worth a few bucks, though.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're not the only ones having a real good month.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm afraid to move the cursor down.
Live dangerously, Don.
Yeah, now it won't move. Oh, there we go. Again, my feed, my chat goes up and down, up and down. On the hat, yeah, that hat, she floored me away, and $3, she got the price. Yeah. I didn't even haggle on that one. Usually, if we're going back and forth, we'll both try and figure out how we can get it a little cheaper. $3, I'm like, as soon as I saw that thing's in the box, and we looked it up before we went up to the counter too, or the table at the front. If you ever been to an estate sale, usually there's just like an 8-foot or a 6-foot table with a couple ladies there, or gentlemen, whoever's there, with a cash box and a laptop, and that's usually about all that you check out with on most ones.
other thing that was crazy at the yard sale was that Fonzie doll. And they had it outrageously priced, but the hat was $3.
The people don't know. Again, Fonzie in fact, he's got a show out right now. They got that show with William Shatner. I haven't watched
Arthur
it yet.
Fonzarelli.
I watched it. I remember Happy Days.
He was so cool.
Skeletons and Duncans. Lee, how are you doing?
Oh, the Stetsons.
Indiana Jones Stetsons go for 50. Yeah, this one blows, Michelle. This one blows the Stetson. You can look it up right now and look up and compare the Dobbs fedoras. This one's the one you'd want, from what I understand. The dark colors most people like. It reminds me of like Goodfellas or something, you know.
Yeah. Stick 'em up, see?
Yeah, that's the same thing. Like Chappelle talking like that. Yeah. How do you know I don't talk like this?
The fast-talking, high-waist pants.
Louis Grace. Welcome. Late is fine. Thank you, Chris.
Ooh. Carl.
Well, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, jeez.
Her father-in-law's had a quadruple bypass, so,
Yeah.
We do know how that is, too.
He started smoking when he was 10 years old, and the doctor finally told him, do you want to live to see your grandchildren? And, that you have to quit smoking. And my dad had been smoking up until he was like 42, and he quit cold turkey. So that must have been really hard.
I used to smoke, but hang on, I think this is our son.
Then he met me, and I told him, if you're going to be with me, you can't smoke cigarettes. So, I think he made a wise decision.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Well, I mean, when you see what happens to your dad, you don't want to, see somebody else you love go down that road.
Hey, Dom, I saw your text there. I'll answer it when we're off here. I thought that might have been my son. He's out doing something.
Having fun with his friends.
Yeah, I think they went to a movie.
Yeah.
We are going back. Well, I wish you good luck, Carl.
Definitely.
Well, thank you, Lisa, as well. Rock and Roll Angel.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Welcome, Penny. How are you doing? Thomas, how are you doing?
Did they do away with priority mail flat rate?
The size of the box isn't over the actual 1 cubic. Yeah, so flat rate's fine. All that kind of stuff is fine. It has to be over 1 cubic foot to actually be charged the dim weight, and that's for anywhere in the country. So, but again, I calculate for everything. Not only do we calculate, we've broken down, and she helped me do it, so it took a little while. We've broken down into weight groups. So I have business policies on eBay, and they all go up to 4 pounds. And after 4 pounds, I have another actual policy. So that's for everything. So I've got up to 4 pounds for books. I've got an up to 4 pounds for priority, or parcel, depending on where we're shipping. Because over 4 pounds, you can't send it first class. And I want to be able to cut it off with our international shipping, because we ship directly to, I think, 7 countries internationally without going through the global shipping program. And I want a cutoff point. If you set up a policy and you're giving away free shipping, it's pretty easy to go in there and fix, like items with just, a couple things, switching or doing something or changing the weights with policies. I use policies and have since they've rolled them out for everything. We've got about a dozen or so shipping policies. I've got only one return policy because it's the same return policy for everything. And then payment policy, I do have 2 just for local purchases, and then 1 for everybody else. And that works perfect for us. I can touch them and fix them instantly. You can do anything you want. Instead of having to edit 500 at a time, you can click a policy, and I can edit 25,000 listings within a matter of moments. Any aspect of the shipping, any aspect of the returns. So if something changes or I want to do something different, I can narrow them down any way I want by policy. So
You want to go down a little bit?
I'm afraid again, it pops around. Neon. For the returns on that, it's not going to be any different. Right now, if you sent something to somebody for $5 and they want to return it, eBay is going to give them a receipt for $5 to return it. So if they ship it in a different size box, that's going to be on them, because the weight on the box is going to be based on the weight it cost you, or the weight that you had shipping it to them. And it's always pretty much been like that. I never worry about the receipts on there. If I charge them $260 or $350 to ship a package and they want to return it, it's always been the same cost it cost me to send it to them. Unless there's some weird shipping rate or something. But other than that, it's just straight out rate. They can't put it in a big box and then stick you with the extra charge. It doesn't work like that. At least I've never seen it. Maybe there's some glitch or some sneaky way some SLB could do it, but I don't know how you could do it. I don't have many returns ever. I have one, and it's a return, and it's only a return because I have a better condition copy of the exact same item, which she's going to buy. So I said, I'll just send it back. This lady's she's the one who bought like 17 cards from us yesterday. She bought 17 cards from me yesterday. Last week she bought like 26. The week before it was like 10 or 15. I don't mind returning anything the lady wants to return.
Yeah.
I have no problem whatsoever. I'll bend over backwards to make sure I'll add different pictures. Anytime somebody asks a question on my vintage items, probably 80% of the time somebody asks a question, I get an offer. And I know people say, don't answer the questions. All they want to do is bug you and this or that. Yeah. It's like 80% of the time. If you're not answering questions, you could be turning down, 80% of sales coming in on those questions. It's a no-brainer. And on top of that, if you don't answer your emails, it's like they're getting to be like Amazon. You've got so much time to answer an email on Amazon. It could mess up your metrics or your matrix. So on eBay, it's the same basic principle. It could mess up your search rankings.
I gotta let the dogs out. I'll
We'll
see
be
you
here
later.
waiting. She'll be back.
Henry.
Kids are both gone, so I guess it's just on us. My oldest son does some other stuff too, so he's melting metal somewhere else. He's showing somebody else how to use a kiln tonight. They just got one, so my son's gotten to be, me and my son both do the kiln and melting metal and stuff, but one of his friends has some silver and gold he wants to refine and melt down, and my son's done that many times. If you ever mess around or want some interesting thing, the melt in the metal is really cool. If you've ever seen or made sand castings, it's just an awesome thing here. My son's got a little channel. It's nothing special. He's not like, any pro. He just does it for himself. So it's actually in my favorites on the link. Again, it's just stuff that he likes. So, I'm not telling you go sign it. But if you want to see some cool melting and you want to see what we do, I'm in some of the videos, I think, or one of them. But again, that's what he's doing tonight. Back to the questions here, though. Could the U.S. Postal Service just deliver 2 or 3 days a week? Yeah, I don't think that would ever happen. I think with what some of the politicians have suggested, I think what they should do is make them, check cashing places for people who don't have the income for the bank. Our post office used to do that. And I think that would be a good thing to instigate, so we could actually cut the costs down on stuff like that. If you look at other countries, they pay so much more than us in shipping and all the other stuff. They could dual use a post office for more than one thing. It's a building that's already there and stuff. So anyway, there's so much things they could do to improve it. I handled logistics as well as a regional manager for a national chain with a fleet of stores that we handled. I had 37 stores in my realm that we dealt with and procured and everything for these stores. And I handled it over a 3-state area, so I know logistics. All this stuff can be handled and taken care of. We did other duties. We did backhauls. If anybody does trucking or anything like that, I figured out how to get backhauls from other companies to use my refrigeration trucks, and I actually boosted my own income by doing that because I got a percentage of the actual income I raised for my district over this. So, there's all kinds of ways to do it. Even in corporate America, nobody in the company this company had been around for a long time knew or even thought about doing backhaul. But I figured backhaul, and I made my bonus every single month, or it was quarterly, but I made it every single quarterly. It's figured out on a monthly basis. But anyway, back to some questions here. Yes, I know I ramble. I know there'll be somebody who says that. Let's see here. Again, it's been a really busy week, but where are we? I ship large items sometimes. Today, a 50-pound box. I'm worried I'll have to pass this extra cost to the customer. We pass every cost to the customer, honestly, at Oregon Coast. Yeah, I don't worry about 50 pound. I ship media 50 pounds is I think the most I ship that size of weight. I've shipped to Amazon that way before, but that's a whole different case. Whether I pay a lot or not, Amazon gives you a real good discount when you're shipping, shipping that way. So when you're shipping like an FBA order, watch Scott, you'll see too. I'm not the one who'll tell you that. That's just the way it is. It's a pretty reasonable price. And in some cases when I've been on the road, I don't travel as much as I used to. So right now, like Scott, some of these other channels have a ton of RA stuff still. I was at Walmart today to get the wife something, and I had to get some cleaner and stuff. I couldn't find anything but a couple, clearance items. There wasn't anything in the store. They were so tight on what they had there. I couldn't make any money RAing around here. So, and I don't travel away with my son these days. I used to travel last year. We used to do, road trips all the way down to Lexington or farther down, down to the Kentucky border, Bowling Green area and stuff like that. I-75 corridor, but I won't do it anymore just in case. I don't want to be too far away from where we're at with my son having issues. So we've kind of grounded our business right now. Another reason I wouldn't do eBay Open, because I had somebody personally ask me, hey, would you do it? And because they wanted to meet up and do some stuff. Somebody I've talked to for a long time, and I'm just not willing to go away from the home that far. She Sells by Sue. How are you doing this evening, Sue? Check out Sue. She is a very lovely person, very friendly. She's got a real good Instagram as well too, as does Scott and the rest of the folks. Linda, how you doing? Dean, I have two postal people. One of them, he's actually out on an injury, but he is a eBayer as well too. So we do talk shop sometimes. He gives me some ins and outs and what's going on. Hang on, my feed just disappeared again. Oh, where are we at? Yeah, Sue's saying it has to be quality plush to vacuum seal. Yeah. Some of those vacuum seal bags, if I in the foods industry, they've got channel lock bags, they're called, and you don't need as much of you can do it at home, and it'll crunch down even plushes too. So I've seen it done before. I don't know again if it would be worth it, but one of those bags is about $1. So if you had a high power, and I have a vacuum chamber, and I can use the vacuum off that if need be, because we do the castings, you have to have a vacuum chamber and compression tank and all that kind of stuff too. So I have all the equipment to do it, honestly. I might look into it for some of that kind of stuff, because we do get character-related plushes. I just got 27 Super Mario Brothers and Nintendo plushes. I've got a bunch of Sonics. I got Tails. I got Amy. They're all vintage early ones too, and I didn't pay much for them, so I almost felt guilty to say a little bit, because I got 20 some of these things, and they're probably $50 a piece, I would gather. Box resizers, yeah, I don't use a box resizer, but I use a steak knife. I've used that way for years. I just cut it by hand. I don't measure or anything else like that. Once you've done that a long time, it gets to be like easy. Let's pop down here. Amazon seller, hey, how are you doing, 99? Yeah, it depends on the size of the box, of course, yes. The 1 cubic foot is all. Now, I've had somebody tell me that a friend of theirs or a relative works at the post office in the customer service, and they're told that that's not going to roll out. I wouldn't buy, I don't know if I'd buy that, only because when they delayed it last time, they delayed it well in a month in advance, and we're right at that point right now. We're about a month away from the 23rd, so and they don't really have to tell the employees anything, because the employees would all know how to do it anyway, because they already have dimensional weight to several zones. So I don't think they would tell them. As a person in a regional spot, handling stores, I didn't even tell my store managers many times what was going on, even up until the day I was arriving at their store. I wouldn't tell them until I walked into the store, and then tell them, hey, this is what's going on. It's just something, corporate-wise, you just didn't do. You didn't give away what's going on. You kept it as a separate thing. You didn't want the regular employees to have it. So maybe they're just holding off on telling people if that is the case. I wouldn't think they would delay it again, because, again, this all was supposed to have been done and rolled out, I think, like the 27th, I think, of January, right around there. So, they've put it off already. Hey, Mimi, how are you doing? I will tell the wife on the necklace, 2 penny. That is a $2 pick. Actually, I think I did an estate sale not too long ago. Do you think this postage change will get the bigger seller like mass book retailers to start charging for shipping? Today I saw Overstock is selling on eBay with free shipping. Yeah, it just depends. I mean, for most books, I would just send them to FBA. In all honesty, I wouldn't even mess around with eBay for most books. That's just me. Me personally, I don't mess with it unless they're non-barcoded vintage books. I make more money on the non-barcoded vintage books on eBay or even sometimes on Amazon than I do on, FBA books, depending on what I get, though, of course. But I see mostly vintage or older books, which most people, again, leave because they'll go to a sale and they'll just be scanning everything. Now, I don't mind spending a moment to type in something to look up a book. And a lot of the vintage ones, they only made so many vintage books. There's certain things that I always look for. I'll give you a book to look for, the Talbot Odyssey. Look up that book, the Talbot Odyssey. That's a $150 book. That's one that I find more often than not. So, I mean, if you've got a list of books in your head or you keep it on your phone or whatever you do, we've done books for a long time. So there's a list of books that I look for. There's some books that are extremely rare. The Talbot Odyssey is that's the first book that I ever sold for over $100. And in this, my history of selling online, that is the first book, the Talbot Odyssey. There's other ones that I look for specifically, but that's one that I've got a thing for that one here, just because that was my first ins into books. So higher price books. So anyway, let's see. John Jones just got back from storage unit. Next to dumpster was a car-sized pile of banker boxes full of medical records. Identify. Yeah, I'd call the authorities if that was me. Yeah, I would probably call the police. There is a law about having that type of information there. That is a crime to have personal medical records information just out. So whoever left those in the facility could be legally responsible because it's what's it, HIPAA, I think is what it's called. I would report that to the law and see what they tell you. Most definitely. Yeah, I would never grab that kind of stuff. Yeah, call the TV channel. That's a good one. I've done that once or twice on something that we had seen. And sure enough, the TV channel showed up there because it was one of those, things that you see on the major news channels, and they fixed it. It went away, the issue. Worried the local meth heads will find it. Yeah, I've had my identity stolen twice, and I've had cards stolen. Are YouTubers concerned? Yes, we are concerned with our privacy. That's why I don't share other sites or accounts that we do run. If you run a business and you want to be big at some point, or you want to be a international company, like for us, I do artwork. I have to put out some information. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to sell my artwork. And I do promote my artwork. So, and as an artist, you can't hide certain information. Now, obviously, we don't use any personal addresses. Everything's P.O. boxes and stuff like that. So you just got to protect yourself the best way you can. Nothing is foolproof, honestly. We have enlisted numbers and all that kind of stuff, too, even for our personal stuff. Yeah, HIPAA, that's exactly what I was saying. Well, good for you, Carl. I always like to have family in town. Yeah, I'd just call the police, John, on that. I know that's kind of off topic, but yeah, I would definitely do that. That would pet peeve me, too. Well, thank you very kindly, Tess. Duncan uses stamps. I use tracking for everything because I want that discount. I know everybody says it's such a small percentage of a discount on your final value fees, but for us it's a couple $1,000s on either store. So, I'm not going to turn down thousands of dollars. It all adds up at the end of the year. Just like having 2 anchor stores and things like that. The 2 anchor stores saves us $2,400 a year in listing fees minimum. With the way they do it. And if we get the free listings, it adds up a little more than that. It's probably close to $3,000 we save by having 2 stores, 2 anchor stores. So, and then you get the boxes and all, which I sell half the time, most of my boxes and bags, just because I don't use that many. I use certain size. I buy them new. I buy them in bulk. We buy pallets sometimes so I can go in with some other people. Sorry you're slow there, Armin. It just depends on what you're selling. Collectibles, I can tell you, always sell pretty much all year round. Collectors collect. They don't care what time of year it is. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, for those who are slow. For us, again, it hasn't been slow at all. This is the busiest month. If it stays like this through the last few days of this month, I'll have broken my busiest month last year in this month right here, this 1 month. Let's see here. I just sold a massive box lodge of vintage Christmas item to crafters. So yeah, Xmas and Halloween. Yeah, I just sold, and I'll put it in my if I throw another wet sold video. I just sold some feather tree miniature hand blown indent glass Christmas ornaments, and I got pretty darn good money for a little tiny box of little tiny miniature ones, and they were vintage, but still. You know, $30 on those. I was pretty happy. They sell all year round. They honestly do. Christmas collectibles. Right now, I've got people building up and getting stuff for holidays. If you're not aware, you should already have had your 4th of July stuff up. I've been selling constantly 4th of July stuff. Postcards, trade cards, paper collectibles, little doodads, pins, buttons, anything tied to patriotic and stuff has been selling very well right now. People buy ahead of time. You can't wait till the 4th of July to sell 4th of July stuff. I'm like 8 weeks out from any holiday. That's what I say. Get yourself a schedule for whatever you're doing. Make yourself a schedule. Write down, you know, where it gets busy here, when you want to have this up for your entire year. If you haven't went through a year on eBay, make some dates out here. So 4th of July, go backwards 4 weeks at minimum, depending on what you have, and get the stuff up ahead of time. 8 weeks is what I do. You know, we rotate what we're putting up based on holidays. So my guys list whenever they work anyway. So if they are working here, the only thing I do differently is I rotate what they're listing. So if we're running into a certain holiday, I'm going to rotate it to that holiday stuff they list first over what they're listing, you know, normally. Today, Jordan listed books, postcards, and then I had him cut off. And then he went to pamphlets, and I think he did some movie stills. And then Ian did scanning for almost his entire shift, just scanning stuff. I had 3 full shifts of just scanning paper items. And I'm telling you, we've got a lot of paper items. And I'm no exaggeration with a couple 100,000 items. When you get into it like this and you're going full-fledged and this is all you do, I can pick up these mass quantities of. I don't do drive arounds to garage sales and stuff, so I'm not gonna, you know, I know people are getting all these views on some of these videos and stuff like that, but I don't need to do that. Why would I drive around to all these random places when I can just go to a source and do it? I know for majority of people it's not like that, but because I had somebody ask why I'm not doing haul videos like I used to. I don't need to right now source, honestly. You know, I'll get a call and I'll go out to all of those, but I'm not doing any random things. We went to an estate sale here because I knew there was something going to be there. Somebody I know actually got a preview of it, and he called me. So that's why you have friends, and that's why you have a chain of people that you talk to, you know, confidentially. You know, some people get into things the night before. Some people can get into them a couple weeks ahead of time to give an estate sale an appraisal on things, which I've done as well. I give appraisals on some things for some estate sales. So it's something that you could actually do to get you in there. You may not always be able to buy something, but you know what's there. So I get calls on things. Those are the only sales I go to these days. So again, I don't sit here and look through Craigslist. Again, I used to. That's all I used to do because I didn't get to the point where we're at now. So I was in everybody else's boats. I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to anything on that. You can get to a point where you don't have to do all that hard legwork anymore. I finally made it to this point. I'm glad because with my son, it's made my life a heck of a lot easier. In fact, one of my pickers moved closer. So he's now only 15 minutes away instead of 40 minutes away. So, you know, you go with the flow. You go with what's going on. And again, as I said, I don't have to do all those long drives and stuff. I don't mind driving because Lord knows I'm a road hog too, so I don't mind driving and you know, the road warrior, the whole works. I don't mind that. I don't need to do it, so I'm not doing it. My gas mileage and my gas expenses have drastically dropped because I can just go to a picker at the end of the week. He's bought stuff for 5-6 days and I see them all in one day. I go to 3 pickers in the same day and they're within, you know, one big loop. I hit those all. I got one long day and I don't have to do any of the other drive arounds. I know when I'm going someplace. Usually I've seen photos even. He'll text me an image of, hey, interested. You know, that's the type of people you want. People that don't mess with selling online or are the old school flea market guys. Those are the ones you want, honestly. Let's see here. Test, my month has been much slower than last May, but I've switched my inventory around to collectibles. Don't dump off your normals until you're sure that you're going in the right direction. Just FYI. I can't say again, I don't know what you're selling, so it just depends on what you're selling. Oh, it has been much better. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was worse. I'm sorry. Last May. So you have switched off. And again, I'm going to beat the dead horse here, but I honestly will tell you that collectibles sell all year round. Duncan's on here. He'll tell you the same thing. He sells similar stuff to what I sell. He sells a lot of paper. Hopsman's not on here, but he sells the same kind of stuff. A lot of paper and photos and stuff like that too. I make a ton of money. This week has been horrendously good for us. You know, I've shown some of my sales from I think last week or maybe it was early this week on my Patreon. I've had many days like that day. You know, this week is alone. So I mean, I can't complain. You know, there's just no way we're going to go anywhere but up the way it's looking. Once I figure out the Amazon, all the cross listing here, you're going to see a ton difference here too. And again, on Patreon, you guys are going to just see a master monster account on Amazon. Probably the one, I don't know this person from Beans, but there's probably one person that I will try and figure out who he is and get some conversation going with this guy, because this guy's got it going on, let me tell you. Let's see here. I've just sold, yeah, we got to that one. Sorry. I've only sold 3 small items so far this month. Well, sorry to hear that, Thomas. Depends on what you're selling again. I know people talk about, well, how many items do I have to have up? You can have one item up and make a fortune. You just have to have the right items. Quantity means nothing whatsoever. You have to have the right items. The right items are the only thing that's going to save anybody. I'm not sure my question about YouTube videos was clear. I was wondering if making YouTube videos or creating YouTube videos important to having successful reselling business. No, that is not important at all. I don't do this to have a successful reselling business. These are two separate endeavors. They do not cross for the most part. Meat Merp. I sold my first multiple $100 item this month. 3-foot M&M display figure. I got 2 of those actually. My son in his room's got the yellow M&M. It's the full-sized one, and then I've got a brown one in the garage right now. I paid $25 a piece for those. I think the yellow one's the one George Costanza from I can't think of his real name, but from Seinfeld was. My son nabbed that one. He put it up in his room. I think I should move over to Ohio and work for Don and Marky. Yeah, you'd have to feed the squirrels. Hang on here, let's pop down just a minute here. First time watching, love your content. Thank you, Beth. House of Treasures, welcome. Amy, the summer months actually are not slow at all. As I said, this is my busiest month. This would not dwarf, but this would be, if this was last year, this would be my busiest month of the entire year last year. Last month, I was up as well. We were up 51% last month at the end. And now I'm not even worried about those calculations anymore because we're still up again. I don't know what they've done differently, but I think they're pushing it this time. I've just gotten more and more sales increases. Yeah, we met Henry Winkler. I worked at Disney, for those who didn't know. And where we worked at, all the movie stars would come in right to next to where we would work, and they would actually have their trailer right out back and stuff, and we got to see all kinds of people. And where we worked in the Disney MGM studios, and we worked a lot for the catering facility, which catered the events when people rented out the park. And that's when all the bigwigs came in, and you only could do these events if you worked with the studio catering company. So that's where we got into. We didn't get into that specifically to meet these people. We got into that because it's the only spot on Disney where you're guaranteed these massive tips. Now, you could work at Brown Derby there and, still get a couple $100 or something on a night on tips there. But with the studio catering company, it usually was a 4-hour shift. And you either helped set up for an hour and then just ran stuff around for 2 hours and then break down for 2 hours. But you got a tip, and most of the time it was like $150 above and beyond your pay. And if you already hit the 42, I think it was 42 hours back then, your hours would be double time on top of it. So, you could walk away with $400 or $500 for a 4-hour shift, and then you got to do some luxury stuff and meet all these people and do the premieres for movies. We did the Dick Tracy premiere, which was one of the neater ones and stuff, but that was just one of the... Madonna didn't show up. Everybody was hoping to see Madonna, but she didn't show up. We got to see Warren Beatty was there. We got to see him. I got his autographed somewhere from there, too. We have the other payment method in our other store, and I have not had any issues. Sales have not dropped. So Louis Grace are we using the new paid or pay service? Yes, on the other store. Only because I do more wholesale and I've got, not as many issues or potential issues. I've got a steady flow of repeat customers in that store. So that's why that works for us on that way. So I probably will just roll it over on the other store as well, too. Oh, thank you, Pat. Again, you don't have to do that, Pat. I know what you're talking about. My dad died when I was 17. He had a heart attack. He was a smoker. No idea if it contributed to it, but he died on Easter Sunday. So, that's the breaks. That's what happens, Turtle Trader, how are you doing? When I was younger and would go to the movies, my dad would ask me what it was about, and when I couldn't tell him, he would congratulate me. Oh, jeez. Quit smoking and become a diabetic. I have not had that happen. I don't eat too much junk food. We're pretty healthy. I mean, me and the wife walk and do stuff like that too. Now that the weather's finally fine. Our dog's down here. Let's see here. Where are we at? Again, my feed's all over the place. Yeah, Louis Grace, business policies are the bomb. I use those everywhere. It's basically the same thing as like your shipping setups in Amazon. So if you're setting up different ones in Amazon, it's basically the same thing. You can set up different shipping policies. In my book, it's geared and steered to be pretty much like Amazon from what I personally see. That's just the way they're doing it. Let's see. Seller Hub is also great. I can't understand why so many. I hated Seller Hub when I first started. When they first forced us into it, because I refused it. I tried it out for a week and I just didn't like it. Now that I use it, I'm okay with it. Before they added the extra features and all that stuff, I didn't care for it. But now with all the other stuff in there, I have no problem. I don't care. I go with the flow. So when they change to the Hub, I just change with it. Back on the Hub, no big deal. Who cares? I mean, that's what I say. The Hub's fine with me, and if they change this tomorrow, I'm just going to change with it. We're literally trying to do most of our listings straight from Sellbrite now anyway. So, I list from one source and they go to all the sites that we want to list those items on. All new items. I'm still fighting with items we already had up. We're just probably going to have, once we've got all the rest of the photos fixed up for Sellbrite, we're probably just going to end groups of listings like a day or two before they normally end, and then run them from Sellbrite, because you want them to run through a third party if you're doing it that way. Because if I originally list an item on eBay and then I import it into Sellbrite, it won't pull it down from another site. It has to be originated from Sellbrite. I know those of you probably don't everybody doesn't know what Sellbrite is, but it's a third-party app that will automatically pull. Let's say I've got an item on Etsy, eBay, and Amazon all at the same time, the same item. If it sells in one site, it's got active live pull downs for the other sites. So it'll automatically end your listings on the other two sites if it sells on one site. That is the factor there. I used to pull all this stuff down manually and it limited how much we could sell. I mostly did records, but I've got a big fire burden right now to get this done. After I saw this, there's again, Patreon's going to get to see this, but there's a massive collectibles guy on Amazon that just blew me away. He again dwarfs me, and I've got close to 60,000 listings, and this guy makes me look like a little kiddie player in this field. So, they're out there. This guy's probably doing, $250,000, maybe even $500,000 in collectibles on Amazon. So, there's people out there that do that. I know people argue and say, you don't sell this, you don't do that. I promise you we sell collectibles monthly, constantly through every month that we've been on it in Collectibles Field. And I don't have very many collectibles up, especially compared to this other gentleman. If I extrapolate quantity of mine with what I sell towards his, he's selling $250,000 or more on Amazon in collectibles. He's got to be using some other cross-list site. I'm very interested. This has really piqued my interest because there is other ways to go around this. Maybe he doesn't sell as many as he would sell on eBay, but he's only paying $40 a month as opposed to thousands to list a couple 100,000 vintage collectible items on eBay. It's a no-brainer. I'd give it a shot, maybe make a little less, but the fees would be different, so it would probably weigh out at the end. Plus, you can charge more on Amazon for collectibles than I can anywhere else on the planet. I get more for almost everything I sell on Amazon. And I'm talking it's 30, 40, 50% more in many items in the collectibles field. People do not research that. I mean, it's their own fault. Let's pop down here. I get 70 to 100 emails a day with questions. I do my best to answer them all. Picked up sales all over the globe, including South America. Yeah, I only do the global shipping on South America. I don't get that many on items. We went in and we used to not put some types of information on there. Now, I don't care if it takes them longer to list an item here. Every lister lists every down to the dimension. I actually have charts for measurements if they have a question. I mean, we go down to the 32nd of an inch when we do all of our measurements and stuff to on anything. They weigh everything. Everything is done to the T. So most of what we sell is a lot of paper items, so I don't usually have too many questions. The only issues we usually get questions on are mostly combined shipping or trying to get me to ship without import-export forms on items so they don't have to pay the import fees and the customs taxes, which I won't do. I will never do that. I don't care what they say. All the information you fill out on eBay is exchanged with the post office, and I'm not going to violate the law to save somebody else $10 or to get a $30 sale. It's just not worth it. I don't care that 100,000 or 95% of every other seller does it. I don't do it. It's just not worth my time. Let's see, where are we at? Steve, how are you doing? Can you share your son's channel, please? Yeah, again, it's nothing fancy. He does it for his friends. If you go to my channel page, I think it says, let me see here. In fact, I can tell you what it says. I don't remember the name of my own son's channel because I don't really go to his channel. I help him film the videos sometimes, but that's about it. Hang on and I'll tell you what it says, where it's at. Hang on. Just takes a minute to load. I've got a lot of juice going, and I got a video uploading now too. It says featured channel. Billy Bobbis Foundry is my son's thing. It's my son. You know I'm not a normal person to the extent. So my son's just along and fits in with the family. So anyway, that is my son, and you can see it on the featured ones there as well too. Yeah, FBA does work very well. Kathy, yep, Sue has helped. Hey, Nevermore, how you doing, John? Things are going well. Trader Jack's, good evening. How are you doing? Yeah, John opened up a store, Nevermore Antiques. He's got an antique store too. We've done that years ago. These days I wouldn't personally do it, but I love antique stores, so maybe when I retire I might open up a store and not worry about anything else, but who knows. We've done that. Let's see here. Kathy, you should get together with Duncan here. He's from your same country. I know you're not a very big country. I hear that comment because it's a closed-in area, but let's see here. Would love a video and Patreon on the vintage books. I'm still tripping up on the westerns, but did pick up a couple of horsey ones. Yeah, I've got another one. It's actually on my list. I know I finished those. I had a couple of those ones out there. I know it's still on my list here. I'll throw one together. I've got videos. I've got the next one's going to be up tomorrow, and then the beginning of the week I'm going to have it's going to be half bolo, and then we're going to repair that hat I showed earlier too. Clean the hat and repair the box, I should say. Hey, Dave the Wave. The painting itself is not for sale, Dave, but I am selling, or will be selling, the actual hand watercolored color tests that I did. There's 4 of them, and I was going to ask, I think, $25 on them. I hand watercolor them. It's on a piece of copy paper, but it's, what I do to this. And I usually, I haven't sold them, but the last time I did, and people were happy to get them, so I might put those up if anybody's interested. Maybe I'll talk about it. I don't usually sell originals, and that is going to be a postcard, but I've got like 6 other designs that are already finished, and I'm just waiting for like 2 more because these are all tied in with the whole project we're working on. There's going to be figures, and we've got animation and all kinds of stuff going on with it now. So since the kids are out of school, we're going to have like half shifts running animation too. I've been showing and training people how to do some of the animation on Anime Studio. Deborah, any tips on how to tell the difference between a painting and a print? It's very, literally just take a loop with you. That's all you're going to need to do. You should be able to see the painting. A watercolor is a little harder to tell. Usually you can see brush strokes out of the line. You'll be able to tell when you've seen a bunch of them. There's not, I don't know, an easy way to tell you what to look for. I mean, you can look for brush strokes, so to speak, but a brush stroke can be printed in there too. So it's kind of hard to say on that. That's a tough one. You just have to get the know of it, I guess. Let's pop down here. Big Pop, has anyone tried Prairie Grit? If so, how are the sales? Prairie Grit, I saw somebody, and I'm not going to mention it because I would never do Prairie Grit. Prairie Grit, there's a guy on YouTube that actually tried it. In fact, if I can remember, I'll put a link down to there, and he had a horrible experience, and they talked him into doing it a second time and coming back. And the second time, he did it live. He tried to do it live, and it was just horrid, his experience. And they gave him this excuse and this and that. Prairie Grit has less viewership than even Ruby Lane, McCrary, Bonanza, and those are like a 50th of eBay. You're talking Prairie Grit's probably hundredths or a thousandth percentage less of anything than eBay. And look at the actual, and this guy too, if I can remember, I wish I could remember the name of it. He went in and looked at their viewers, how much they're spending on bringing viewers in and advertisements, and it was this. I mean, it didn't even register on the chart. I mean, it was a joke compared to the rest of them. So, I mean, I don't know anybody who's had success, nor have I seen any videos on it. I know some people who do okay on McCrary. Bonanza, I don't know many people, and I wouldn't do Ruby Lane because I had a friend who did it for a while, and it just got terrible with, it has to be high dollar items, and there's all this stuff, and, there's limits, and all kinds of stuff go on Ruby Lane. So, your best sources are going to always be, at this point, eBay, Amazon, Etsy, and there's a few secondary like Discogs for stamps or Hub postcards or something like that. But other than that, I wouldn't mess with trying to learn a new site or spending the money on it. eBay, honestly, is going to be your number one. If these folks, tried some of these other sites, McCrary or any of these other ones, you're going to be really slow in the summer, I can tell you for sure without a doubt. It looks like we're blurry here. Let me see if I can't get the lens to focus back in there. Sorry, folks. Yeah, Duncan does a lot of paper. Yeah, I don't thrift anymore either, honestly. Yeah, people think that's weird that I don't thrift. I mean, we love going to thrift stores, but I don't find anything hardly ever these days. Hey, Mike, how are you doing? Just me, Kathy, welcome. Yeah, Jason Alexander. I couldn't think of his name. He was in Pretty Woman, too, if you didn't know. Amazon Seller 99. When you applied to sell collectibles on Amazon, did you provide them with any supporting document? If so, what type of document did you do? I've got a couple that's trying to get ungated now. They've sent in their third application. You have to supply them with information, yes. They actually gave me a form to fill out, and I actually will share it in the Patreon group, just because I don't want too much of my Amazon information out, but they do send you a form. They do want listing, like dummy listings. They'll ask you for like the titles of a couple sheets worth of listings. I think I gave them like 50 or 100. And then you got to give them a site where you sell, which I actually gave them my eBay store, basically my straight address for that. And then you fill out some basic information, listings, your categories, what services you're going to use. Are you going to authenticate vintage items? Do you plan on selling? In fact, I just looked at the form for Charles, for somebody else the other day. So there's like 20 questions on the form. They technically aren't taking new people. Now, I had somebody, go back and say, you don't even need approval. You can sell collectibles anytime. That's not true. If you sell them in the wrong category, they can shut you down. There is specifically a collectibles category, and you have to be approved into it. I can 100% tell you that's a fact. So just like records and CDs, you can sell vintage CDs, vintage records in there, and all that kind of stuff as well, too. Let's see here. Yeah, Carl Bottom, vintage always sells. It always sells. That is 100% straight. Hey, Swamp Picker, how are you doing? Have about 3,000. Oh, I just lost that one here. Again, my feed's all over the place. Here we are. I have about 3,078. They are from mid-40s to the 60s. Are there any I should look out for? Any rock and roll from the 60s on a 78 is almost always worth a lot of money. Good rock and roll, let me say. If you find Rocket 88 on a chess label, that one's like a $5,000 or $10,000 record. I sold one broken half for big money. That's the best broken record I've ever sold in my life. I think we got like 500 and some odd dollars for a broken 78. It was in 2 full pieces. They can still be played too, just mind you. 40s wise, again, I've talked about that before. Glenn Miller would be one that I would be looking for in there for sure. Quantity in 78s does not mean much. You have to search through them before you buy them with weight, transportation, and your time into something like that. You could maybe have made a few bucks, but your time and energy and efforts might kill it. So I don't buy big bunches of anything unless I've looked through enough and I know I'll at least be able to sell a quick chunk and get my money back. And if I don't want to mess with it, I don't have to from that point on. Just personal opinion. I never have been stunked on that either. But 60s, though, if you're getting 60s in there like Elvis on Sun, you know, it's 500 minimum for even a poor copy of that one here. So, you know, it just depends on what you have. Let's see, what do we got here? Well, Back Row's Living. Well, thank you very kindly. I do appreciate the super chat. Yeah, be careful on that. Just be careful. If you can get them down to, say, $1 or $2, that'd be about the bottom line. If you check out comps on those, you're going to see that Betty Boop just doesn't show up very much. In fact, I haven't seen one in a while here. I would imagine on a full page, as I said, those prices would be pretty strict and correct. Radio Patrol, I haven't seen one sell in a while, but again, I haven't seen one. I haven't even run into one of those personally that's been a full page at ever. You know, Radio Patrol is fairly scarce. There's not a huge amount of collectors on Radio Patrol, but it doesn't take but one to get a good price on it. I sell, it's probably going to be a long tail item too, but I sell those. I don't think I have sat on anything for more than, say, 5 or 6 months when it comes to a full-page comic of anything fairly collectible. Betty Boop is hot right now. They're recreating Betty Boop things and all kinds of stuff, too. Somebody told me they're doing a live-action Betty Boop here in 2 more years, but I don't know if that's true. But anyway, again, thanks, Back Row's Living. Let me pop down here. Postcards are the bomb, John, I'm telling you. I just showed some in the video where I'm talking about the China ID here. The postcards I got from there after I went in and priced them. I'm being optimistic, and the Hong Kong cards in there, I'm going to net... Oh, geez. I think we added up, it's over 600 just in the postcards. So, you know, and then I got the luggage labels, which I showed in that video as well, too. One of those luggage labels from Peking goes for around $125 on its own. I spent $120, I think $3 or $24 on every single thing I bought, and that includes the China ID from the U.S. soldier stationed in China, a CBI. That's going to be like $1,000 there. We're going to make from that one single stop. Our estimates were originally like $4,200 net. Are going to be like probably $5,600 because and we haven't even went through every single thing we bought there because we buy it in bulk. So, you know, I'm just FYI, not trying to brag, but estate sales work really well if you know what you're doing and you pick the right category to shop in. I mean, I know what the other vendors I'm competing with sell and buy, so I can skunk a lot of those guys, luckily. Yeah, I ship mostly smalls. I wish you could see the amount of stuff I sell with those, and they're so easy to ship. Hazel, yes, there are many programs to cross-list from many different platforms. Each one has its own drawbacks. Some of the actual cross-listing programs will only cross-list to a certain set of sites. All the third-party sites that do this have deals and contracts with the companies. They have like Sellbrite has a deal and a contract with Etsy and Amazon and Walmart too, which we have a Walmart account now. And eBay, Amazon, they have accounts. So you can cross-list the same item across all the sites. Third-party app will pull it down, and then boom, you don't have to worry about any of that. As long as you list the item from the third party first. That's the drawback. Teresa, how are you doing? If I missed your question there, let me know. I try to get to all the questions I can. If I can ask, how can we get 60,000 listings posted? Do you do tours of your business? I don't do tours of my business. This is a family business. We don't do too much. I don't reveal locations. We do have a facility we store stuff at as well, and I have a secondary place I can list at. My father had a workshop, and it is now my workshop. So, and he did cabinetry and stuff like that too. How do you get 60,000 listings? You can't do it by yourself unless you're on for 10 years, I would gather. We have employees. My wife works for us, my 2 kids, Justin, Ian, second Ian, Jordan, I've got Steve. There's 9 of us total that list. Not every day. Everybody doesn't list every day. People have school, so those in school work after school. They don't work every single day of the week. Summertime they work more, so my labor goes up in summertime, but it's the best time to do it. Kids are out of school. I hire high school students, would be the best place to hire anybody. We hire directly. We pay them. They're on my payroll. I do not 1099 or any of the other, or whatever the other form is. I don't contract out any employees. It all goes through my in-house totally. We have an accountant just for payroll. We have a separate accountant for the business aspect and taxes. I would honestly recommend a payroll accountant. If you want to get to 60,000 listings, you got to have enough quantity. You've got to have the sourcing abilities, and then you hire. That's honestly the best bet. I've seen more and more people talking about hiring. I think I even saw Scott, the bearded picker, talking. I think Sue's got a part-time employee with her too. We started off small. My wife worked with us for a while. I started off for the first year or so by myself. I couldn't keep up. Sales started to pick up. We were still eating ramen noodles. She helped out. My kids, we brought them in on the ball. My son does certain things. My other son does certain things. One goes sourcing with us. The first one I hired was Ian, and you've got to see him in some of my videos. Ian and Jordan are the 2 that I show the most. You've seen my son, my youngest one anyway. My eldest one doesn't want to be in videos. He's not even in his own videos. So, other people don't want to be in videos either. It took a little coaxing just to get the wife on. There's somebody actually showed up here, so she's actually talking. I can hear her talking upstairs to the neighbor. So, anyway, we help out one of the neighbors here. She's by herself these days. So, I have shown a little bit of my facility. Once in a while, I'll turn off the green screen in Patreon, but that's usually where I do that at. I try to keep these videos on a certain line, and Patreon ones are a little more not as, tidied up. I'll, show back. I've showed a few, bloopers and things like that here and there too. But again, Patreon's a paid group if you want to see the videos. Just to shout this out there, because I had somebody ask me that here as well the other day. If you want to see the videos that are on Patreon, there's 46. Tomorrow there'll be 47. They're all 20 minutes plus. Some of them are, quite a few are 45 to say 50 minutes long or longer. They're very detailed, and they go into more explanations and things that I don't discuss on here. There are like a $1.99 package and a $5 package on there, but you don't get the videos with that. So, just FYI. I don't market you. I'm not selling you any kind of class or course or any guarantee. It is purely content from literally me doing this since eBay has been called eBay. That's all it is. There's no guarantee you're going to get stuff out of it. If you're not wanting to find out something new or just isn't your thing, I wouldn't recommend looking at Patreon, because it's mostly in collectibles and things like that. I've done collectibles and sold all kinds of stuff since I was 7. No exaggeration, no BS. I was the nerd who sat there trying to figure out how to do stuff at home. I didn't do sports. I didn't do any of that stuff. I do have some medical issues, and my father did too, so I was never a athletic or encouraged to do athletics. So, just FYI, nerds were a different, ballpark then. You were picked on, so I was my own self at that point, and the friends that I hung out with, we did, goofy things. I was the altar boy in school, at a religious school. I was a Boy Scout. I made Eagle Scout. So, I was the all-around nerd back in high school even. So, I've always done stuff like this. I collected comic books, for years of my life. I collected non-sports cards. I had my father's stamp collection given to me when I was 7. I like coins. My father had a coin collection. I've touched most gambits of collectibles, and that's what I show you in most of my videos. I'm not going to show you something I don't know. Hopefully that was your answer to that, Hazel and Just Me Kathy. Yeah, we've had the same people working here. In fact, I originally hired somebody's brother. I hired Ian, and his brother, they're twins. And Justice wanted to work here as well too. After he'd worked for his family too, and I was hesitant to hire him only because I didn't want his mom mad at me for getting him to work here and quitting on her. But he loves working doing this compared to what he did there. So, this is something. If you learn this, you can move anywhere and have no worries on a job once you get to a certain point. So hopefully I did answer that. Welcome from Tennessee, Rodney. Oh, Mike, I just saw one from Mike and it just disappeared on me. Nevermore, PM me if you get a chance. Like to know about your brick and mortar. Yeah, I saw that, Mike. I did check. I will answer that one here on your email. Again, I'm behind on my Facebook drastically. Yeah, I wish you good luck too, John, on that as well too. Marikek, how are you doing? Don, do you source custom knives for eBay? I've had some custom knives. Smoky Mountain, I think, what is it called? Maybe it's Smoky Mountain something. There was a online catalog that we used to order knives and stuff from. And you used to be able to order 6 World War II or before bayonets for like $30 from these people. I used to get cases in there. Like every 10th bayonet, World War II, it was like, I think it was an M1. Yeah, I think it wasn't for an M1. But it was a case one we used to get in there. And for, $5 or so a pop, a case U.S. government issued bayonet from World War II back then was like $200. And they would offer us, custom knives and stuff like that at bulk purchase prices, like a wholesale deal. That's the only time I messed with knives big, but I was doing it because I was already getting shipments from these bayonets and stuff. Like when we lived in Mississippi, you could buy a Czechoslovakian AKA-47 still in Cosmoline, sealed in the plastic bag for $60. Now, if somebody opened they took the pin, had to be put in. There was no pin with it, so you couldn't fully auto it. But $60, I wished I would have been in on that. We only got a couple of those, and I ended up selling them really quick years ago when you could do that kind of stuff. But anyway, enough on guns. Yeah, I don't know Auction Sage software. I looked and researched every site that was big enough and that had been around for years before we picked Sellbrite, Hazel, if you're talking about cross-listing. Sellbrite in Vendio or something like that was the other one we centered in on. I picked Sellbrite because they don't charge you based on how many listings you have. They charge you based on how much you actually sell. So for us, if I was billed by how many listings I actually had total, whether they were selling or not, I mean, it would be like $3,000 for some of these third-party apps to cross-list my items, and it wouldn't be worth $3,000. But $400 or $500 with Sellbrite to cross-list 60,000 items is well worth it. So, you've got to play it by ear on... Hang on just a second, I'm sorry. We've got, as I said, one of my sons is... Okay, sorry. So hopefully that gives you an idea on that. I research everything. I am anal retentive about research, and me and Chris were talking about that. He's similar to me on a lot of that stuff, as is Dom. Dom's very particular on that, as I am too. So I researched every aspect of it. I would not go with a third-party app that I hadn't heard of before, even if I had never looked at their specifics. If they haven't been around for 5, 10, 15 years, I wouldn't mess with them. And Sellbrite, after I started going with them, actually signed some deal with GoDaddy, I think is what it is. So that should help the whole atmosphere of this and help integrate our own store-wise better into it too. So let me see here. Welcome, Gate City Picker. How are you doing? Let's see here. Yeah, I've talked about how we set things up here in the past. Yeah, watercolor. The paper I use, I've got watercolor markers. The end of the marker is actually a paintbrush. You can add water, you can dilute them. It's just like a normal, but these are old school graphic artists use these. I can't think of the Copic. Their Copic are the other brand that I use as well too. So the illustrations that I'm talking about, for those who might be interested in that, they're done with that. There's no rippling or anything like that. I mean, it looks clean. I'll show them if anybody is interested in. Hex Treasures, Gate City Picker. That's the one that did the Prairie Grit. Go to Hex Treasures and see what he has to say about Prairie Grit. He tried it twice. Thanks, Gate City Pickers. That is exactly the one that I was talking about there. I knew somebody would shout that out too. He had a horrible experience with it. He won't mess with them ever again. It was just a lot of waste of time. Again, I'm not trying to ding on someone else's site if they own it or what the case may be, but I'm going by all the reviews and all the people I've talked to, and everybody has told me the same thing. I've talked to people who did Bonanza, McCrary. I've done Poshmark. We quit Poshmark. Again, there's nothing wrong with Poshmark if that's what you sell. I don't like clothing, so again, nothing wrong with Poshmark. Yeah, I guess McCrary too, from what I understand. It depends on what you sell, and I just don't see my type of items selling on there. Let's see here. Yeah, my feed just popped off. Hang on just a second. Where are we at? Let's see. Reborn creation. It would be awesome to get large enough to help my family and friends as well as those needing employment to do what the professor is doing. Honestly, I could not, and I've reiterated that in the other day talking about the summer sales. If you haven't seen that video, the summer sales video there, I could not do this by myself. I could not get anywhere near the amount of listings I have by myself. It would not be physically possible. I would not be alive if I had to put in that many hours to get this much stuff up. Without help, it's just not possible. You know, we started off small. Started off with the wife, as I said, then 1 kid, 2 kids, then a first one of their friends, so it brought us up to 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9. You know, we're literally borderline on forcing to get another building or to rent something or something along that line. I've got a cousin who has something that we might be able to work out some deal with, whether that works out or not. If that does, I'll just be paying electricity and utilities and changing some service for them with some stuff that we do on the side too. So hopefully that works. If not, you know, I'll go from there. Yeah, Steve, even at 10 cents a piece on 78s, just be cautious. I know that sounds like a horrendously good deal, but if they're all $3, $4 records and somebody's picked through them, I'm going to put this out there. When you're going to buy 5,000 records or whatever the case may be, chances are someone like me has already looked through them. Or it's someone like me selling what he couldn't sell. Around here, every Craigslist ad that I've looked at in probably the last 2 months for records, I've seen some of the ones that were already in these lots. Or there was somebody who bought a lot somewhere and is now dumping off the massive lot. And again, I'm not saying that's what you have, but around here, the majority of the lots that I run into are records that I've looked through, sometimes a month ago, sometimes 2 months ago. There's always telltale signs, you know, or I always inquire when I'm buying big lots, where'd you get them from? Why this? Why that? If they say just happen upon them, well, did you happen upon 5,000 records? Why would you have 5,000 records? How many people happen upon them who aren't someone like me? I'm always cautious. I get rid of our records in bulk. I'll take them to a local live auction, and I personally may sell 5,000 45s or 4,000 78s or a couple thousand LPs. I'll go through the ones. I'll pick out all the ones that I know I could sell. LP, I don't list an LP if I'm not going to get at least $10 for it. 45s, I don't list a 45 unless I'm going to get $7.99 for it or higher. 78s, I don't list anymore. I used to have a $15 bottom line. I try to now keep it at $20. If it's not worth $20, I don't list a 78. If it's worth $15 on eBay, I will still list it on eBay because it's probably worth 20 or 25 or 30 on Amazon. So if it's a 78 wise, 78 sell higher on Amazon any day of the week. FYI. So thrifts a lot. Are there any specific vintage antique items that are seeing an increase right now? Yeah, I just hollered one out. What was the one that I just saw? Wacky Packs. If you want a specific oddball one, I've got one. This bolo is whack. Wacky Packs have went up some horrendously huge amount in just the last few years. There's many other categories too, but Wacky Packs were one that surprised me. Postcards, of course, have gone up horrendously high. The postcard fad has actually taken off even more so than it has in the past. In the last 2 years, I've seen higher prices in postcards than I've ever seen in my entire life before. So there's more and more people doing it. It's a bigger fad. There's small collectibles. You can start off small. There's so many reasons why people buy postcards, even young people still. They're from their city. Their father owned this building or their aunt owned this building. There's all kinds of reasons people buy postcards. I've always had good luck with postcards. I sell, again, 6 or 7 postcards every day of my life. Every single day, and that's just on eBay. That's not counting any of the other platforms we sell those on. Just eBay, 6 or 7, every single day of the week, every single week of the year, nonstop. And some days I sell 15, 20 postcards. Some days I'll sell 100 plus cards between all the different kinds of cards we sell in just one day. These aren't fictitious numbers. That's what you do when you sell, because again, I charge shipping, so people are more incentivized to actually buy more than one item. And if they're a collector, they're probably going to want to come back at a future. They'll try to buy more at once. My return customer, repeat customer rates almost 40%. I'm almost tied up there with a couple here that that's in that same range. So that's the way to get this business to work. Awesome customer service, the best damn customer service you can give your customers. The best options, the best services. That's why I offer free returns. That's why, I do charge for shipping, but, I combine everything. If they bought 2 items overnight or something and they just paid cash, I always refund them whether they ask or not. I always have tracking for everything. If they ask a question, I try to answer it immediately. If something's going on, obviously it might take a day or so. But for the most part, the questions on eBay are answered very, very abruptly and quickly. It's the only way to get good service. I bend over backwards. I'll let people pay at the end of the month if they buy a whole bunch of items. I'll set stuff aside for people, put people's names on it. I'll let them pay, locally or by other means if that's the case. I'll do whatever it takes as long as it's within the guidelines of eBay's platform or what platform I'm selling on to do and get that sale. And then I'll follow up with them. If they want something or they're specific and they like certain items, I'll write their email address or their eBay seller name, and I'll email them, hey, I'm just going to list this tomorrow. I'm going to list this then. I don't sell them outside of eBay. Even if I could, again, once I get my store open, it's the game's over. I'm selling them off wherever I can sell it. I'm going to direct anybody to my store. Whatever I can do, that's the game plan. So things will change. But as of right now, everything goes through a site, the best of my abilities. Hopefully that answers a few of those questions there. Yeah, we still have company. She's still up there talking. Sorry, folks. John, I wish I could get my wife to do videos. Yeah, she still isn't super happy on it, but she does enjoy the stuff we talk about. She scored in that hat today. I'm telling you, that hat. I would not be surprised once it's cleaned up if I don't get $300 for it. Again, look it up. Look up Fedora and Dobbs. Dobbs is known for top hats, and maybe that's why they didn't pay any attention to it. And the box was filthy. I mean, filthy. Her hands are black. In fact, her fingernails are even dirty. How you doing, Flippin' Hustler? Well, thank you, Barbara. Let's see here, John. Do you have the trophy slides, maps, and other stuff from a guy who said a slides, maps, and other stuff from a guy who said a world record driving across this road would be a good way to sell something? Depends on when he did it, John. If it's old or new. I've got a around the world flight in some kind of I'll have to show it in a video, but it's a postcard, and they all signed it, and they limited produced it, and this thing flew around the world recently. I think in the 90s, but it's not worth a fortune, unfortunately. If it was newer, it's not worth as much. If you're talking he drove around there in the 20s or 30s, you probably got some value. And if it's Australia, you might want to talk to Duncan on here, John. If you don't see his name at the end of the video, go up farther. Look up Duncan VR. He is from Australia. He could probably give the ins and outs and might know some history on this. He sells paper and just this kind of stuff as well, too. Sounds like a national race or like the Great Race or something like that. If it's vintage, it does have some value. There aren't as many collectors in Australia of stuff like that from what I see as there would be in America, though. But hey, Craig, how are you doing? Craig Landshark Picker's in the house. He's got a decent channel. If you haven't checked him out, I watched some of his videos as well. Craig's a real good guy. Again, he did a video with us, as did John as well, so just FYI. Again, I don't call out people who I don't appreciate and don't watch, so if I don't watch them, I'm not going to call them out. But I watch John. I watch Craig as well. Don't watch too many these days because I don't have much time, but again, they are good guys. Chicken fried steak. How are you doing? Central Cali. You had Chris on here from Burbank, Central Cali just a few minutes ago. They are going live, too, so you can see Chris as soon as we're done here. If you want to hop over to Primetime Treasure Hunter, Dom's actually going to have Chris on tonight, live at 9. So just FYI. Those guys are really good guys. I talk to them a lot these days. Probably talk to those two more than anybody else these days. Chris and I, he does toys and stuff, and a lot of stuff that I do. He knows some people that I have actually known and do some stuff with. And Dom's a real good guy. We've got some, educational history together too. So, I've talked to these guys outside of YouTube now, on a fairly reg basis, in all honesty. So anyway. I need stuff to list, and this was going to be the day to get it. Well, why are you not getting it, John? It's it's late right here. I could source somewhere right this very minute at 8:51 on on Thursday night. I could go out and source something right this second, because I do have one place that I can source some good stuff at this time. I know, you can source, here I can RA, but I don't know if John does too much RA. I haven't seen much on that, but if you do RA, I like going at night, in the middle of the night. The only problem is there's no help if you need it. So if you're like Brick Seek or something and you want to have somebody check in the back, you ain't going to get it. It's, you run the house. There's nobody in Walmart last time I was there at 2 in the morning. Again, I only sleep 4 hours a night if I'm lucky. I don't need anything to list. I was almost debating on selling bulk lots to folks to list on their own, like a wholesale deal, but just on trade cards or something. Let's see here. Steve, yeah, I don't know Idaho Hillbillies. I love the old vintage knives. I do collect a few things. I've got a couple nice boot knives here myself. Only vintage ones I mess with. Is it okay to cut down a priority mailbox to a smaller size? Yes. If it's a flat rate, though, I don't think they charge you the flat rate anymore. It depends. I think Scott, Bearded Picker's got a video out on that. I don't use priority mailboxes almost never. I just buy the same ones, and I charge shipping costs or billed to my buyers. I actually charge them for all shipping supplies, including the boxes. Basically, I charge them full cost. I do not give the discount. So the discount difference between that and the actual price I pay covers my eBay fees on my shipping and the boxes as well, too. Again, I buy boxes in bulk. We'll buy a pallet with a couple other guys. I'll get together, and we'll buy a pallet of all the same size boxes. And it brings our box per box price for a 12 by 12 by 12 to around 32 cents. The closest price I can get it anywhere else is around 64 cents. So it's almost half if you go in and buy a full-size pallet. Again, you got to have a place to keep her. You got to go in with somebody else to do that. But if you got friends who do what you do and you've got the ability to do it, you can cut your box costs down if you're buying your boxes. If you're buying them, of course. Yeah, Mike's saying, yes, I cut down priority boxes as long as still sending priority. Yeah, back in the day, they didn't used to print priority mail on the inside of the priority boxes, and people would turn a priority box inside out to get a free box, and that's when they started doing that. So, I would never wrongly use it. Just like when I see people wrapping stuff and shipping clothing and, use a priority box inside and then throw it in a poly bag. They're ripping off material when you're using a priority box that way. How would we set up pay for those we hire to list for us? Reborn, I actually went through and we have a what's it called? It's the employer ID, EIN number. We also there's a T number too that we have, but we have an EIN. We have everything that you legally have to have, and then we just literally hired an accountant to actually do the tax aspect of it, and they fill out all the forms. They do the workman's comp. They collect it all. In the whole works. So basically, I just I tell them what we're going to pay. I fill out the packet, and then I have to drop off the packet at them before they can start. They do all the calls and everything else. I don't do anything related to, payroll other than giving them the totals. That's it. If I put a raise in, I have to call that in. My accountant does everything else. And I'm cheap, so there's many ways to save money when you're hiring somebody. When you're hiring somebody, like me, I called around to the accountants. I made sure the accountant we hired, is in the Better Business Bureau. They have never had any criminal cases against them. I checked with the police department. He's been doing it for his life. He's got his son doing it with him. They offered a free consultation to start with. I knew all the questions I wanted, and they were able to satisfy my needs. I pay out in advance in mid-month. So I technically only have to have one check issued, and that cut our costs down drastically as well. So if you want to do it on the cheap, If you pay $10 an hour in my state, it costs me an extra dollar for all of the aspect and fees to do payroll. So I've got $11 expense for an hour of labor that I pay. So that's how it works. Hopefully that gives you a basics on it. We're going to have to cut it off here because I do want to catch up and hop on over to see Dom over there and Chris. So again, if you're done here and you still want to hear some good conversation, you've got Chris, which was on the conversation earlier today for quite some time, and Dom, Primetime Treasure Hunters channel. They're up at 9. Hopefully they have no issues here. Again, they had some issues yesterday, so they didn't run. I appreciate everybody coming on tonight. So again, I try to answer all the questions I can. I don't always get to them. I do apologize. I don't have time these days to answer the questions here on YouTube. I do answer all my Patreon's questions, and I do try. I'm up on there at least 4 times a week, pretty much religiously. So again, if you want more content, that's your way. Be another video out in the morning. More content coming up through this week. Again, I post a video every single day of the week. So if you got any questions or anything else and you can't get an answer, I'm always here for live show at Thursday at 7 Eastern Standard Time. So again, have a good evening. I'm glad everybody was on tonight. If you haven't hit that like button, please hit that like button. That really helps us out a lot. It shows that we're well liked. It helps to push these channels throughout. So again, everybody have a good day.